Yes, so game mods have gone absolutely wild. I've played some incredible mods and some that I actually have no words for, but I was a bit confused about how any of this was legal. Turns out they have been illegal this entire time. This stuff had me double taking the law, because when you've got developers encouraging mods and entire communities built on them, how can something so illegal just be allowed? In this video, we're going to answer exactly that. So come with me on this journey, diving deep into the different types of mods and their loopholes that allow them to exist. Discover a secret settled case that could have ended the future of all mods, and analyze the effect mods have had on the industry and the future of the law. I think I may have seen CJ appear in every game released at this point.
Oh shit, here we go again.
We got CJ the Assassin, the Ninja, and the f***ing Wizard. This type of mod is a cosmetic one. They're the most popular mods we see, usually leading to some of the most viral clips you may have seen floating on the internet. Cosmetics only change the visual or aesthetic element of a game. Their main purpose is to provide alternative imagery to characters, art, and design. Cosmetic mods are my favourite type of mod. They provide an enhancement to the experience of a game that is often more creative and better than the original. And this definitely becomes more apparent when we apply cosmetic mods to much older games, providing a whole new level of visual experience that can often bypass generations of hardware. So guys, I currently have the Fallout mods on for Fallout, and honestly, when you compare this to the original, it would be extremely difficult to play the game without this mod. The original looks like the game has that 2007 piss filter all over it. Now, why was like everything made with this filter in 2007? Anyways, as I was enjoying the Fallout mods, I was struggling to understand what the problem is with cosmetic mods. What's that sound? Turns out that cosmetic mods' biggest problem is the misuse of intellectual property. For some reason, modders love placing the most random copyrighted characters in any game they wish. A big cosmetic mod released by TrainWiz was turning a Skyrim dragon into Thomas the Tank Engine. It turned into this massive meme amongst the Skyrim player base. Although super funny and kind of harmless, this type of modding infringes on the copyright of the original work. Mattel, the copyright owners, were furious with this mod, with TrainWiz even claiming they wanted him dead, and that he received many notices from their lawyers. Mattel is claiming that the mod diminishes Thomas's brand by depicting the lovable train as a raging dragon, completely out of the image built by them. And they were in the right. The mod did infringe Mattel's copyright design of Thomas. You can't just take an original character and use it however you wish. This would be considered an unauthorized derivative work, and the law is in place to protect against this. So what do you think happened next? I am fighting Thomas as an Elden Ring boss. In watching this channel, you're going to soon realize sometimes people don't care about the law. What has preceded this legal threat from Mattel is Thomas appearing in everything without care. I mean, anything with a dragon will be converted into the train, and there is pretty much nothing Mattel can do. So the legal loophole here is that you can't stop the mods. There is no way this would even be worth Mattel's time to individually track every modder, because another mod will just turn up on a different game. It is like trying to put out the fire with gasoline. Sometimes games need a little tweaking. Gameplay mods involve changing how the game is played through new items, characters, missions, or even just straight up altering mechanics. The scope is quite limitless, only bottlenecked by the modder's talent. These mods can enrich the original game with new content or quality of life improvements. Many old games heavily benefit from gameplay mods. There can sometimes be something like 100 mods installed for a single playthrough of Fallout or Skyrim. Now, although these mods exist, they are also not legal under UK copyright law. Computer programs are protected as literary works, and even modifying or adding to the game's code or assets can count as making an adaptation under UK law. Mods often qualify as derivative works because they use the game's assets or code. In a case, it was held that user-created files for Duke Nukem 3D were unauthorized derivative works infringing the game's story and world. This case provides a clear stance that developers have a right to take down game-altering mods of their game. Now at this point, I honestly was slightly confused. The law stance was clear, yet there's still thousands of gameplay mods available with no issues. In theory, they shouldn't exist, so what's happening? What I found is that it is mainly because of the developers themselves. At the heart of it, developers are responsible for using their rights as original owners of their copyrighted game. They can choose to take legal action, or they can choose the alternative, to allow a modding community to flourish to better their games, increase their lifespan, and improve on their community. Bethesda and many other developers openly encourage the modding of their games, often even waiving their rights in agreements or by providing modding tools themselves. Without developers turning away from using their rights, mods wouldn't exist. It's that simple. It's kind of crazy to me that developers have been waiving their rights this whole time. I don't know, the logical conclusion is that they would want to monetize this or something. Now, as I mentioned, developers have taken down many mods before. However, with the micro-star case, a big reason why the developers even took legal action in the first place was because FormGen were monetizing the mod. A big part of what makes mods so special is that they are usually free. Them being free, it has of course made them highly accessible for most players. That's the caveat. Mods can exist for these games, but the minute they start profiting on an original IP, legal implications get tense. And in my opinion, this is a perfectly fair approach by game developers. Some mods though go beyond minor cosmetic and gameplay changes. Some achieve total mod overhaul. Total conversion mods are an extensive overhaul that transforms the original game into a virtually new experience. These mods replace most of all of the original game's assets, story, art, characters, and music, with new content running on the original game engine. The most famous mod that became its own game is Counter-Strike. The game was a mod of the original Half-Life that Valve themselves bought out the game studio and released CS as a standalone game. Arguably today, CS is the most popular game of all time. Certainly on Steam anyways, showing how significant mods can be and the effect they can have on the games industry. You may have also seen the recent Star Wars Genesis mod on Starfield, a complete overhaul of Bethesda's Starfield creating a fan-made Star Wars RPG. An incredible piece of work that is also super confusing on how it hasn't been taken down. I mean, we're dealing with one of the biggest IPs in the world being infringed, and we are dealing with Disney. They simply can't originally replicate the game without the original foundations they modded. In the case of Star Wars Genesis, although Disney and Lucasfilm tend to be quite lenient with fan-made Star Wars content, I feel this will receive a DMCA as soon as the project is finalised. Legal strategy would be to gather evidence, build a thorough case, and strike a massive blow at the final hurdle. I hope this is not the case, but the mod has a potential of affecting any future Star Wars RPGs releasing, therefore I don't see it surviving for long. Modders are usually the brunt force of any legal implications for mods, because they created them out of their own ambition without the help of any developer. But a unique case in the UK nearly widened the scope of who could have been prosecuted, and this case could have had such a drastic effect on the future of all mods. Manchester United, yes, the football club, sued the makers of Football Manager in the UK in 2020. Part of their claim was that Sega Sports Interactive allegedly encouraged third-party mods that added an official club logo and name into the game, circumventing licensing. Football Manager doesn't ship with real logos for unlicensed teams, but it is well known that users can apply mods to add them. United argued this encouragement of trademark infringing mods amounted to an unlawful use of its trademark. It was a pretty clear and strong argument by United. The developers recognised this and the case was eventually settled out of court. Now, I emphasise how bad this could have been for mods. It was the first time developers would be liable and at fault for the mods created on their game. Had this case gone to trial and Man United won, it would have meant that any developer that allows third-party mods on their games would be infringing copyright. Such an outcome would have caused crazy panic among developers, all of which would have been unwilling to accept mods out of fear that they would also be sued by the IP owners. In response, we would practically lose all mods and the culture that surrounds them. It is such a swept under the rug case that could have had such a severe effect on mods. I don't know. Let me know in the comments what you think would have happened to the future of mods had this case gone to trial. Okay people, time for my legal analysis on all of this. That's the point of a video essay, right? Look, in the real world, I'm currently a paralegal aiming to become a lawyer. So when I say the current legal treatment of game mods is broken, I'm not just speaking as a gamer. I'm speaking as someone who can see the law is nowhere near equipped to deal with what modding actually is. Because let's just take a step back and understand what's happening. The law is saying that modding is illegal, yet people are for the most part acting like it isn't. In my opinion, that is a very clear indicator that something in the law is wrong. The main provisions of copyright derive from legislation from 1998, which has had minimal amendments that are focused on the current landscape of gaming. To put simply, mods aren't considered by the law. Because of how outdated the law is in comparison to gaming, I believe it really holds mods incorrectly as illegal. Now obviously there's a line. If you're monetizing someone else's IP, selling a Thomas the Tank Engine reskin on Elden Ring for a $5, you're crossing into commercial exploitation. That's infringement. But free, non-commercial mods, these things add value. They keep games alive, they patch broken releases, they make old games playable again. They even turn single-player games into multiplayer ones. In some cases, they literally evolve into new games. But most importantly, they go beyond just copying original work. Mods are considered derivatives, so they don't benefit from copyright even if 90% of the code, assets, and ideas are original. This makes you question, at what point does a mod stop being a remix and start being its own thing? If you rebuild a ship plank by plank, is it still the same ship or a totally new one? Some mods are practically new games built on an existing skeleton. It becomes a problem because it offers very little protection to modders. In my view, creators of major transformative mods deserve some recognition, and maybe even limited rights over their own work. I find this point completely insane. You know how many things are copied or influenced by something and still considered original? Art is stolen all the time. With mods, yes, they use the original content, but the work should be considered as original enough to benefit from copyright. But I don't think it will until something breaks. Until a major case lands in court and forces the legal system to acknowledge the grey area it's been ignoring, nothing will change. Mods exist in a legal grey zone, technically infringing but rarely enforced. The law hasn't kept pace with what modding has become, a creative extension of gaming culture. Developers tolerate it because it keeps games alive, boosts engagement and costs them nothing, but the legal risks are real, and one court case could change everything overnight. Until the law catches up, mods will survive with community backing, developers' discretion, and silence. Yeah, so I really enjoyed researching this one, guys, and I hope you all enjoy learning something new about mods. A like and a comment would help a lot. Until next time, bless.